here's a piece of really interesting news. Hasbro has been talking about pretty much developing a theatrical production studio primarily for animation. And they're going to be working specifically with Boulder Media, which, for people who aren't familiar with Boulder Media, are the ones that are currently doing the Cyberverse series. Now, this is really good because every time at least from other studios that I've seen that kind of go this route, like let's say DC or Marvel, when they go about this route where they kind of develop a studio that's made for a more direct movie market kind of thing of animation, whether it be, let's say, direct to DVD or just theatrical, it usually leads to a better product. Because if there's I've always said that the one thing that I've never really been a fan about with the live action Transformer movies is that you could never truly have the Transformer movie that you want. Meaning that, because everyone wants, I want a story on Cybertron.
Right.
Well, but what really separates a CG movie like a Beast Wars episode from a live action one is a live action person showing up. You know, so like it's if you had let's say there was a Michael Bay movie and from start to finish the whole thing was on Cybertron, would you call it a live action movie?
Yeah, exactly.
Unless Sam shows up at one point and goes, ah, it's going to be a CG. It's pretty much a CG movie. Just a very nice looking one, almost like, on par like I'm really going to go for obscure, like Beowulf or something.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, it's what's his name? Zemeckis. I think that's the name of the director.
When Angelina Jolie was in it. Where it was
Robert
like
Zemeckis, I think.
It might as well could have been a live action movie, but instead it was a completely CG movie that just looked very live action.
Yeah. Okay. So there's specifically a director, Robert Zemeckis, that does a lot of movies that kind of pass the uncanny valley. Another famous movie that he did was Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Ah, there you go.
And that was one of the best blending of animation and live action, and it just nailed it. But he also did The Polar Express. Like a lot of movies seem a little bit weird when you watch them. You're like, oh, why does it look weird? He produced Beowulf. Well, let me just get his directing here.
Well, there you go.
So he directed Polar Express, Beowulf, A Christmas Carol with Jim Carrey, the one where he plays Scrooge and he's all weird and up and big and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, exactly what you were just talking about. But other famous movies he's done is Forrest Gump. He did the TV series Tales from the Crypt, stuff like that.
So, but essentially what Hasbro is saying what they want to do here is they want to do movies of Transformers, My Little Pony, G.I. Joe, Power Rangers. Now, we recently had a My Little Pony movie. It did okay from what I read online. It didn't make gangbusters, but it did okay. So it probably told them, hey, we could do another animated movie that could give us something. G.I. Joe has always been kind of a thing for them that they've been trying to find success with. So if they have to make an animated route with G.I. Joe, it might be safer. I mean, if you can't find success with The Rock, and I liked that movie.
The second one, yeah.
I like that movie.
It's sad because when you're watching it and him and Channing Tatum are they're playing a video game together and they're just trashing each other, and it was that's really good. Oh no! And then they have to kill Duke off.
Yeah,
and I think the way that came about was people saw the chemistry they had during the screen testings. And
the focus groups,
yeah, the focus groups, and the reshoots was just them having more banter before he dies, basically. But
that's just it.
And it's sad that I completely understand why Channing Tatum is not down to do those movies again. But I feel like if he had somebody more interesting to play off of, I mean, even though him and Marlon Wayans was played off very well as Ripcord. It kind of stinks that when he finally gets that groove, he's like, nah, I'm kind of out. I don't want to do this anymore.
Well, from what it seems like, it seems that, again, if you bring in The Rock and you don't bring in the money, it's like what do you do then for the next Joe movie?
Yeah,
you had a big name. So animation is kind of the safest bet. Where in that case, you could bring in those the big marquee characters.
Well, then they could bring it The Rock was down with. No, wait. I'm confusing him being on Transformers Prime and what we thought he was going to be on Renegades or just other G.I. Joe. Remember that? Those rumors back in the day?
I think The Rock's next place is going to be in a Marvel movie between you and me. But
well, no, his next one is he's doing DC. Remember, he's doing Black Adam. He is Black Adam.
I think he wants to also do a Marvel movie.
Well, I mean, he does have a good standing with Disney, so I could see it happening. And Disney's not the type of company that's like, oh, you did their movie, you can't do ours. People jumping back and forth all the time.
Oh yeah, totally, of course.
So it's Hollywood. It's it's TV. You can't.
It's money.
You can't be like you can't be a franchise player like that.
And another one here that they mentioned, which is also very important from a branding standpoint, is Power Rangers, because the one good thing with Power Rangers being an animation is we've reached a point with Power Rangers where we have their Generation 1, their G1 legacy characters in that of the Mighty Morphin crew. As time progresses, there's only so much live action stuff you could do with the crew that still is, number one, that still is available to do it. I don't want to say alive because one member isn't with us anymore.
True.
But of the other ones that are still either willing to do it or available otherwise. So going the animation route is the safest bet. And I saw this already through Boom Studio and how they do their Power Ranger comic books, and how they just stay in that universe of the Mighty Morphin universe and are able to have all of those characters at their disposal and do ongoing stories. So it's the same thing here, where everyone loves the Mighty Morphin lineup and those characters, where you could do an animated version of Zach Taylor, aka oh my God, I forget his name.
Walter
Jones. Thank you. I know his full name of his fake.
It's funny because I'm trying to remember his name too, and I'm just thinking of the intro, and I'm seeing him do the shoulder roll back.
Do the shoulder roll.
Walter Jones is
Zach. So but that's just it. Where instead of and it's kind of sucks because then those actors can't get gigs, but at the same time, some of those actors just are not available either. So it's something where if they want to tell those stories, they don't need to have all the stars align and have all those characters, all those actors together to do that. So it makes sense with those brands. With Transformers, like I said, what does this entail for us? Well, we could finally get. They probably look at the beginning of the Bumblebee movie and some of those scenes. We could finally get that. We could finally get that full CG Cybertronian story that we want, and not have it to at any point have human characters show up. It could just be a start to finish War for Cybertron story kind of. And I mean, that's what we've all been clamoring for. That's what we all want. Part of the love that the Bumblebee movie got was because it leaned a lot on those kind of scenes that have been just completely absent in five Michael Bay movies, which is so sad when you think about it. We had 5 Michael Bay movies, and really there wasn't there was Cybertronian scenes, but they were very quick. It was very just one and done, quick.
I think one thing that's pretty interesting about this is that over the years Hasbro's been trying. It seems like they've been trying to pivot into multimedia in the sense of when they created their own TV channel, Hub, a few years ago.
Hub.
So they're like, okay, we'll take all of our properties that we own that are TV shows and we'll put them on this one channel, and sadly it didn't pan out. And then it seems like now they're just gonna animate their own stuff, just get a production company just to do that kind of thing on their own, because I guess since they have a really good relationship with Paramount for specifically movies, we haven't really seen them team up with an animation studio since Mainframe, basically.
And the thing is, too, when it comes to the Hub, let's say, it's one of those classic cases of either ahead of their time in a lot of ways, because they ahead of their time, and also at a time when things were changing, where the Hub was created just a couple of moments before Netflix really started to become a household thing.
Right.
And it's something where Disney right now is talking about this streaming service that they want to do with all of their library. Where and Hasbro is not Disney. They don't have the same library that Disney does.
And they probably don't own those shows themselves.
Yeah, well, that's just it. Where Disney, like, now they got Marvel, now they got Star Wars, and then they got all their Disney stuff.
Yeah.
Which is just, I mean, just Disney afternoon stuff alone could keep,
well, even subsidiaries like Touchstone Pictures and stuff
oh,
like
yeah,
that.
of course. So like I could see them pulling it off. Now Hasbro, that's where it's kind of a sticky area where for the longest time there was like just a battle to get their DVD rights back. Then they got all of that stuff back, and then from there it was like when the hub came out. I think part of the reason why the hub wasn't successful was it was really limited to what could be on there for 24 hours.
Yeah.
Like there's only so many Gem episodes you could air. There's only so many Transformers, G.I. Joe, and then you start jumping into some of the other stuff where it's like you have to go to Sunbow, and then you go, oh, well, you can't do this one because that was also partially owned by Marvel, and now Marvel's with Disney. So it's like let's say something like the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon that they did, or there's a lot of weird gray areas there. So that's why like this seems like the best route for them for now. They really need to build a bigger portfolio if they want to go, let's say, the streaming service or a channel route. But I look at, again, Warner Brothers with the way they do their DC animated movies and how so many of those are just home runs. Mm-hmm. So many of them.
Exactly.
Just recently, the Batman Ninja Turtle one that came out, amazing.
I remember a few of my friends I posted up the trailer and I was like, oh, a little bit excited, and they weren't feeling it. And then now I'm seeing people posting clips of it, and it's so good.
Oh, it's really good. I saw it. It's
good.
really. But that's just it, and that's an example of here's a way. Hey, we could put this on DVD. We could put this on streaming services, and we could have that outlet to tell this kind of weird story. Let's take some Kevin Eastman and Bob Kane creations and smash them together.
Didn't they do a crossover like that in comic form in the 90s?
Oh, they did a ton of that.
Yeah, that's what I'm assuming. Because I remember like they had like the turtles looked super chunky. Like they looked really like.
Oh, you're thinking that's actually Eric Larson. That was with Savage Dragon.
Yeah, exactly. Because I remember I have an old. I don't know if I still have it. I have an old issue of Hero. If you remember that magazine.
Hero magazine. Yeah,
and it had a bit of that in it. So that's what I always remember.
That's that, and they made a toy line too. It was called Eric Larson's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
Which had that buff kind of look to it. But yeah, see, again, that's what this would be good for. Because like the fact that you look at the other brands that they're talking about outside of Transformers, when you see that Power Rangers is there, it shows that they go, okay, that's how we want to handle Power Rangers because we have all this stuff that exists from that continuity that we could make animated of, and we could do that. So think about it this way. You could have straight up sequels if they want to from the Bayverse even. Like if they want to do, they could do an anime if they want to. If they want to like, hey, do you want like some kind of like unofficial sequel to The Last Night but not have to have live action actors and stuff like that? It
or
could
if they actually like fill in the blanks of like
they could do
hey, the younglings or whatever the heck they called them, those things, like what is that, or just animate the in between comics, if you will.
Pretty much all the stuff that IDW was doing at the time, all that kind of spotlight stuff. Like it's, to me, that's what would be good about this. It's all that off the beaten path stuff that could be done that just they would normally never do, like for a 13 episode run television series. Which, I mean, when you look at Cyberverse and its run time and how many episodes are available, it shows really how television is changing now as an outlet for let's be real, to advertise your product. Mm-hmm. And then we look how the movies are being handled right now, and we did have success with Bumblebee, but that's something we have to really twiddle our thumbs every 2 years to kind of hope for now. So this is
3 years almost.
Yeah, sometimes. So this is something this is good news because they could churn out these direct to DVD or in some cases direct to theater animations that could be aimed at a little higher brow audience and have a little bit more of an interesting story than something that's expected from a boardroom and all these, it's got to be this and you got to have this and you got to have that, like
got to hit
something
all these check marks.
Yeah, it would be something, like this is something, hey, a Beast Wars movie, an animated Beast Wars movie. Like imagine they could just go, hey, we're going to do an all CG Transformer movie and it's going to be Beast Wars. People would love that as long as the spirit is there, as long as it's like done properly. So let us know what you think about this. it's something that's just, it's such a loaded topic right now of what we could expect, and it's just us kind of like piecing together from the few paragraphs that we have of information to figure out what they want to do. But at the same time, this is something that could lead to something really exciting for the future for the brand.